Program. We are glad you're here. It has been a busy one today. Spent a lot of time early giving you live coverage of Alabama being celebrated again at the White House. We had the president, and we also heard from Nick Saban. Now we're going to hear from Phillip Stutts, who's not a reporter, but he's a friend of ours, and somehow Phillip, with all his great influence in Washington as a political and media strategist, managed an invite, which isn't surprising because Phillip hangs out at the White House and Capitol and pretty much everywhere else where power matters. Phillip, thank you for the time. Appreciate you being with us. And I'm just going to sit back and listen to you describe what you witnessed and experienced earlier, not that long ago, at the White House. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. Good to hear from you. Yeah, I am not a reporter, but I do play one on your show. So,
well, by the way, not only you're not a reporter, you're also a best-selling author. We had you on a couple weeks ago for Fire Them Up, the seven lies digital marketers sell. So I'm sure you dropped a few books off for the president and Mrs. Trump.
I had him sign a few. All right, let me give you some of the key highlights. First of all, best dressed. Tony Brown, who wore a black fur hat, almost Russian-esque. I don't know if there was a subliminal message or not. I had a good conversation with Senator Doug Jones, who told me to tell you hello.
Hey, by the way, one of the last times that Alabama was at the White House, Senator Jones actually was our correspondent. He may have told you that.
He did. That's what he said. He goes, the last time I talked to old Finebaum, I was right here. So he said hello. And I didn't quite get on the front row, Paul. I was on the second row, seat 26.
Ooh.
And so if any Georgia fan is smart enough to understand that message, then they'll know that's second and 26. So,
226.
Amazing day out there today. It was really, really fun. The president made a lot of jokes. One of them was that no previous visit to the White House had ever invited Saban into the Oval Office. And so he needled past administrations on that one. And, the team, everybody was very receptive. It was a great event out there.
Yeah, I want to focus on that for a second because it's just hard to imagine the president not having Coach Saban in. But as you know, you were there, these things are fairly quick and staged, and the president has other things going on. But that was pretty cool to go. I mean, that's as you know, you've been there enough times. That is the spot in the White House that everyone yearns for. So
totally true. And another mutual friend of ours is Caitlin Collins, the White House correspondent for CNN. And she told me on the grounds that Saban was making recruiting calls from the White House.
Oh, my goodness.
That is not a joke.
Is that against federal election law?
Only if he paid them. So he didn't do that.
Now, if Saban had been sitting there or standing there in the Oval Office and he put the president on, that would be some sort of violation, wouldn't it?
I think it's just great recruiting as an Alabama alum.
We always try to get the most objective reporters on. When Doug Jones, who's got an Alabama connection, we don't strive for anything other than fair and balanced here on the Finebaum show. So we had it. We watched. We broadcast it. We saw it. But there's only so much you can see on television. Give us some of the behind the scenes machinations going on there today.
It was pretty neat, when the song of the president's song comes out and the horns go off. The president comes out. He walked out with Coach Saban. The team kind of came from the White House and walked down the steps that you see them standing on, and a huge press corps in the back snapping pictures. And the president definitely had remarks, and he let one of the funnier moments, and maybe you saw this. But he said, he made the remarks about how big the Alabama football team was, and he kept going back to how much money they will make one day.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And everything was about, you guys are going to make a lot of money. And, it was funny. Everybody was laughing. And then, of course, Tua was way up above on the steps, wasn't even close to the president. The president called him out and said, "What are you doing up there? Come on down." And but it was funny. Everybody had a good time. And, we had U.S. senators there with Doug Jones. We had all the congressmen there. We had cabinet secretaries. Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia,
I saw him
one
there.
of Saban's childhood friends, was there. Sonny Perdue, the agriculture secretary, was there. So it was a really neat lineup. The most interesting guest of all, Jeff Sessions, was there on the front row.
Yeah, no, and for those who don't know who Jeff Sessions is, he's a longtime senator from Alabama who gave up his seat to when he was selected as the Attorney General. He and the president were very close friends, and it was only yesterday, Philip, that the president called out Sessions again.
He's done that more than once, Paul.
But he, I think our mutual friend Caitlin asked him on the rope line what he thought, and he said, "Roll Tide." Very, very non-committal.
Well, that's a diplomat, and I was with a friend today, and he said, with all the chaos that surrounds Washington D.C., and at the same time we're at the White House, Mark Zuckerberg is testifying in Congress. It was a peaceful, quiet day, and you just couldn't believe that all the chaos is swirling around there. And Trump was humorous and fun, and the players reacted very kindly to it, and it couldn't have gone better.
And Philip, to say the least, there is a lot going on. Not only do we have the news from late last night, but you have the Syrian conflict going on. The president canceled a trip to South America on Friday, so you have to know that in the Situation Room or wherever, serious decisions are being made right now about the Mideast. And meanwhile, you would never have noticed when you're watching the president on stage with the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I think you get a sense that the president loves these moments of fellowship with the players. Obviously his past with football and professional football with the USFL. You could really get a sense that this was a moment where he could relax, and he took pictures for at least 20 minutes after the event. Literally the Secret Service was finally like, "Sir, you've got to go." But he was having a blast out there. It was you could see how happy he was.
It looks like a pretty nice day for Washington this time of the year.
It was 55 and sunny. The most beautiful time of year to ever be in Washington, D.C. is in the spring, and the cherry blossoms were out, and it was a great day. Phillip
Stutts covering the Alabama Crimson Tide for us at the White House. 20 minutes. I mean, Philip, if I remember, not last year, the year before, we had coverage of it. President Obama, this was now his fourth time with Alabama. I mean, he was in and out pretty quickly. It looked like, you know what, I've done this 4 times with you guys. I really don't have anything else to say. But spending 20 minutes taking pictures is extraordinary, isn't it?
It was crazy. And, there were a lot of fans there, too, Paul. And the only complaint I heard the fans was they had to travel to another neutral site to see Alabama. But overall, the president was literally taking pictures. Tell
me this now. Again, the president reminded the Crimson Tide he was at the game, which we all remember.
He did it about 3 times. Actually.
Yeah. Well, again, no reason. He did fail to mention that he left while Alabama was down 13-0. But that's but why bother correcting the facts in Washington? But Philip, I have to ask you this because the White House is not an easy place to snare an invitation to, and forget you because you're a mover and shaker and among the most influential people in that city in what you do. But how do you get invited to something like this?
Sure. First of all, your condescension I can feel through the phone right now, and second of all, it's a lot of the Alabama congressional offices and their staffs. It's probably a lot of lobbyists with connections, and there was a lot of Alabama. You'd be surprised at how much staff or people from the university were there. I saw the board of trustees, and they had their families there, and I saw Edgar Weldon there, and so an Alabama alum.
Oh, very prominent person, sure.
Just a bunch of people call and come up and fly up and spend time. It's an incredible opportunity, no matter what the team is, for the president to honor their sports team, and to have the opportunity to go up and spend the day at the White House is unlike anything you'll ever have the opportunity to do, and people take advantage of that if they can.
Well, we appreciate it. I have to tell you, Philip, and we've had Senator Jones on this program many times, but I am going to give you a higher mark for reporting than Doug Jones. Now, at the time, he was just a former U.S. attorney. He had not been elected to the Senate, but you and I don't know what Mark and John think, but I think Phillip has pretty much won this job.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to do some media training for him if I'm ahead of him. So we'll go to work on that immediately.
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of out of breath and a little too partisan. I mean, you've given us behind the scenes minutia that I would expect from a seasoned veteran. So well done, Phillip.
I just want to know what recruits he was calling. That's all I care about. Who is Nick Saban calling from the West Wing of the White House?
Probably someone from a red state. That would be my guess.
Hey, Trump made a good point. He did win Alabama by 32 points.
He sure did. He said, didn't he say, like, I think it was really more, but they took some away from me.
Yeah, well, I think he knows that he doesn't get specific facts exactly right sometimes, and he thought that the press would jump all over him for it too.
Well, great stuff, Phillip. We hopefully will see you very soon, Phillip, whose book, Fire Them Now, we had him on. By the way, it seems like that book's done quite well.
It has, and we're rolling into the second part of this wave in the next few weeks. I'm going to be going to New York next week for another press blitz, but the book has been great. Feedback's been great. Thank you for having me on.
Phillip Stutts, White House correspondent for the Finebaum Network. We appreciate it. Great to have. That was fun. That was really cool. And I know this happens once a year, so why not blow it out? We are going to take a break. More of your phone calls at 855-242.